To start the stream, yes. Oh, right, that's worked. So I think it's live. Scott, come back, all is forgiven.
That's looking
Hold on,
good.
hold on.
Is it live
So, yeah,
random?
last time I was on a custom server, but I can see it now in the
We ready?
dashboard.
We are ready. Okay.
You can see heaven by the dashboard lights. Good.
I think so. Oh, no. I've just hit sign out. I didn't mean to do that.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
YouTube is
the
in.
experience of the schools of the students at the IT. I submitted my homework and it just went away. Not to do with me.
So welcome everyone to live news. Let me click on that video and make sure I mute it, otherwise you'll hear us twice. So like Skype, YouTube has this month decided to improve our experience, but we are here now. And there is me, Scott, and Random with you. And we're going to do some live news. So hopefully someone will join us in chat. You'll see I've got a new piece of material behind me. The reason being, because I've got the green screen, I've got a new chair that doesn't squeak, but it's black, whereas the old one was green, so it was hidden. But now this one isn't, so I'm going to need to get a green piece of material to put over the chair. But anyway. First world problems. So let me open the windows I should have had open in the first place. And then we'll do the usual round robin of what we've been up to. And then we'll get to your news stories. So 2 weeks ago, I believe it was, Adi came up for the weekend. And he stayed here the Friday. And we hit the bright lights of my local town on the Friday night. And then we stayed over here. We had some beers and burgers. And then the Saturday, we were joined by Little Ben, and we went up to Arcade Club. Had all day Saturday at Arcade Club, and I think it was one of the hottest days of the year we'd had thus far. I think we've exceeded it since. But
Somebody almost sweat.
Arcade Club was the hottest place in the world, so... and at the moment, you're not allowed to carry food and drink around the place. You've got to sit in the designated areas for food and drink. So it was go in the rooms, play some games, go back, have a beer, and maybe a snack or whatever. So that's how we played the whole day. Played some great games. It's expanded since I last went. It was 2 floors last time I went. It's now over 3 floors. And the bottom floor...
was it 3 or 4?
I was going to say, yeah, how many?
Yeah, it's over 3 floors. Well,
what's the limit?
Can you nail that number down?
It is now 3. And the bottom floor is big games that don't really fit anywhere else. So I mentioned in the top 10, they've got 3 skee balls next to each other. They've got 3 of the basketball games where, you know, the hoop moves side to side. You have about 4 balls in there. You just keep shooting as fast as you can. They've got a line of couches and some modern consoles. They've got a huge, Mission Impossible machine. So it's literally a small room that 4 people walk into and stand in, and it's a shoot 'em up. Not a great game. I did play on it. Not a great game for me, but just the biggest arcade machine I think I have ever seen. It was very noisy. It was very hot. But a couple of interesting games that I've not played before. I played Darius Burst, which is the 4-player Darius, obviously that being the big double screen thing. But you sit down in front of it. It's got a big bench seat, and it's got 4 sets of controls. So 4 players can play simultaneously. It's a huge machine. It's huge screens on it. Quite a lot of graphics on screen, but the whole game just moves quite slowly, and you do also get some slowdowns in once things start getting quite busy on screen. I did notice quite a few slowdowns, but interesting game, very Japanese, like the enemies almost fill the screen, but good game anyway. I played the new Iron Maiden pinball, not seen that one before. The place was so noisy, and the pins are turned.
That's hopeful, but I'm kind of looking at either Iron Maiden or Metallica. I'll get into that in a bit.
Yeah, there are some difficult shots on it, like the left ramp. I think I maybe hit it once. There's like a couple of objects on the playfield just in front of it, so you've got to be really precise. Very difficult shot on there. But speaking of Iron Maiden, we were drinking Trooper, and in fact drank Arcade Club out of Trooper, and then had to shift to something else. It was in bottle. I've had it on draft before. I'm not a big fan of it on draft, but the bottle stuff is really good, so we enjoyed quite a lot of Trooper. What else? They had a big Luigi's Mansion arcade game that kind of like the Jurassic Park you might have seen, where you sit inside it and close the curtains at the side of you, and you've got a big screen in front of you. They've now got, I'm not sure they had it last time, but they've got the big Terminator Salvation that Scott's got. And spent a bit of time on a few classics that I always go to. Qbert, Star Force. And I mentioned again in the top 10, I played Ivan Stewart. Not played that in the arcade for quite a while. The controls, the steering on that is just really, really good. You know, it's kind of one of those where you spin the free spinning steering wheel and then stop it when, you know, your vehicle's rotated enough. But it just comes back. It's very easily controllable game. Great game. In other news, I bought some tools. I went on Grindr. I bought a grinder. I've had to, so for the Sega dashboard, I'm putting extra buttons in and changing a few locations of buttons. And the plastic dashboard that you see has a big metal plate behind it, so I've had to cut some holes out of that. And I've got a Dremel, but this thing is like 3 mil steel. It's like you could make a ship out of this thing. So I had to buy a grinder to do that. Fantastic tool. I've used them before, but never owned one, so I'm pretty proud of it.
We all live in a 3 mil submarine. A 3 mil submarine.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. It really does. It's solid.
We hope the steel is sturdy enough for me crushed to death at unbelievable deaths.
And so I think that is just about me, apart from getting a new chair that doesn't squeak.
Well, I've looked into getting a new chair that doesn't squeak, so there's that. Yeah, you know, I've been hammering away at some of that PS5 thanks to Mark. I got another playthrough of the Terminator Resistance done on the PS5. Yeah, maybe slightly higher res graphics, same gameplay, but it was about time for another run through of that game. I absolutely love that game. Started on the Cyberpunk. I keep getting distracted. I was in a store the other day. I saw World War Z for the PS4. I still hadn't played that. I thought, well, you know, I'll really grab that. So I, as much as I want to play Cyberpunk, for some reason I keep finding other things that are coming up first. So, with the limited selection of games right now, you know, there's no new Zelda, there's no new Mario, there's no new this, no new that, no Titanfall 3, no the other one I was hoping for, Andromeda. Somebody help me out here. Mass Effect, thank you. There's literally just nothing of nothing, you know. So I'm just kind of going to burn through that World War Z probably pretty quick and then be on into Cyberpunk. Hopefully that'll keep me busy for a while until somebody decides to get off their ass and sling a few lines of code. So I've got my Kiss pinball I put on location, and it's been doing very well. You know, it's in our motorcycle clubhouse. So, you know, we're open, you know, 2 nights a week on average. There's people in there, and it's just been generating a ton of money through the bill acceptor, including some people that were like, I don't know if anyone's going to play it, are lined up shoving money into it. So very successful. And now that I have a slot freed up in the pinball room at home, I'm kind of deciding what to get. I am considering Iron Maiden. I am considering Metallica. Both those games have incredible sound systems. We'll see. Haven't decided yet, so we'll see what I decide. So one cool thing I got to do this past week that I put just a little blurb up in our chat. I've been a fan of Gwar for quite some time. If you don't know who Gwar is, check it out. They're sort of like Kiss turned up to 20, you know. They are actually very accomplished musicians. One of the guys, holds a doctorate in music. His sort of specialty is, like regionalization of music, like what makes the music, from one geographic area different than another geographic area. They're just all incredibly accomplished guys. Um, and they're a great freaking metal band. But they opened up some time ago. I just hadn't been. Only about an hour about an hour and 15 from my house. They opened up a bar, like it's like a restaurant, bar called Gwar Bar. And I just hadn't been to it. And for some reason, it was one of those things in the back of your mind you hear about, but you remember, oh yeah, I was going to go there. So I was actually in Richmond for another thing. And when that wrapped up about 4, Gwar Bar was open up at 4. So I went over there to have, an early dinner. So it's in Richmond, Virginia. If you're anywhere near there, it's worth a trip. It's not like a museum. It's not huge. It's actually quite small. You walk in, you see the whole thing, and one look. It's on one of those like corner bakery, kind of setups. And it's just, there's all sorts of stuff from like their tours. There's a bunch of masks. They have like a full, odorous figure up in the window. There's all kinds of artwork everywhere. And it's exactly like what you would expect if Gwar opened a restaurant, So the food, pretty good. I ordered a burger that was a struggle to finish. It was like bacon, like breaded bacon on top of a giant patty and all. Not gourmet food by any means. It's pub food, but just a neat place. I really enjoyed the visit. One of the funny things about, like, I picked up a T-shirt, while I was there. I got my Gwar Bar, T-shirt. Just kind of one of those things that I meant to do and I finally did. So, it's not like the nicest place in the world. It is about one road over from the Richmond ghetto. So, go armed, go early. I wouldn't be there after the sun sets. I have a feel it kind of looks like I Am Legend around there as soon as the sun drops. So, be careful. But I had a hell of a time. As I was sitting there eating, I look over on the window. I noticed there's like, not theatrical, but like actual cobwebs on this one prop. And there's like some flies that are like deceased at the bottom of this, thing. And I thought, well, it's not the cleanest place. Then I thought, like, if you were to bring it up and like complain, like, you guys clean up a little, right? Does like odors appear out of the ether to tell you that's extra protein and he should charge you more? It's it's just like, it is exactly what you would expect of Gwar. So give it a visit. I just wanted to just bring that experience up. It was a really cool place to go. I don't think I would schedule a special trip down there, but when I go back, if I find myself in Richmond, yes, absolutely, I will go back. So that's kind of my week, sir.
What have I been doing? So I've fallen massively into my usual summertime kind of vibe of not really playing a lot of games at all. I don't really know what else I've been doing. I've been out on my bike a little bit, but not huge amounts.
Now, when you say anybody over like the age of 60, when they say bike, it should mean a massive motorcycle. What bike?
No, this is a human powered trail. Well, it's a trail bike, but not like a motorcycle trail bike.
I think you would be uniquely suited to motorcycles. I mean,
I used to love them. I used to ride them from when I was about 13. And then just got to the point where, well, I was always just basically using other people's, which sometimes would be, I used to maintain a pit bike for a bike team. And the deal was that I got to use it, for commuting and prattling about during the weeks. And as long as I kept it, running so that it was ready to get loaded into their truck, go to the circuit, and spend all weekend, safely getting tyres and tools around the paddock for them. I got to basically keep it and look after it. And that got tuned quite a bit as well, so that was quite good fun. But yeah, I always sort of, I just sort of went like that and just sort of borrowed, I never really owned any. And then got to sort of, going out on my own, needed a car, and that was sort of where money went, and not really sort of found the justification for buying a motorbike. I've been quite tempted again, but here and there. But I also need to have cars as well, so it's a toss-up. So yeah, just it's usually on my wall now, but it's not on my wall because it's all horrifically dirty. But
what
that's
your
good
wall
fun.
is?
No, yeah. Well, it is after last time I put the bike back up there. Yeah. But yeah, not quite as fit as I was before, and also, yeah, even just over the course of, I don't know, 8 months since I did anything sort of seriously. I mean, not even like we're talking Red Run sort of style stuff, not sort of black diamond downhill or anything. But even then, it was kind of still had to get my eye back in a fair bit for some of the larger drops and stuff. And yeah, my jumping's gone completely to piss again. So I need to work on that. Yeah, I started building Lego again, which I hadn't done for at least 10 years. And that's been kind of fun, just building a couple of cars, got picked up, it started with, I saw the Audi S1 Quattro model, sort of pretty much half price in the supermarket while I was doing my food shopping. And just thought, well, I love that car. I love that era of rallying. Fuck it, I'm just going to get that and sit for the afternoon and put that together. And yeah, quite enjoyed that. So been doing some other bits and bobs. And since we last spoke, I don't think I'd started watching Tremors yet. Because I missed last month, didn't I? Because I was in Scotland. So I wanted to see if the first Tremors still held up, because I remembered kind of enjoying it, and it had come up in a load of conversations I'd been having. It turned out, I still really did. I can see that it's not the best film, but I like where it's not taking itself too seriously. It fits into a nice place, and it is definitely entertaining, at least for me. I didn't think I'd ever seen any of the others, which I now know I hadn't, definitely. So I got hold of all of the other films, of which there are 7 films now, I think.
7? There were 3 last time I watched Tremors. 7
films and half a TV series that they did before that got cancelled. And they all do follow on from each other story-wise, but thematically, the first 3 and then the series are all set in the same town, pretty much, and it's the same sort of vibe. After that, it starts to branch out a bit and go a bit weird, and kind of starting to go down the almost like Fast and Furious sort of route of modern action films, but still trying to be a bit silly about it. So I thought, it's definitely sort of lost its way a bit for me. I did quite like the series, got quite bad at times, but was still kind of enjoying it because it's that whole kind of just out in the desert, just a small little town of a few people. It kind of worked.
At what point did Kevin Bacon drop out?
He only did one.
Right.
The only consistent person has been can't think of his name now. The guy who plays Burt Gummer, the
old
military
dude,
guy.
Yeah.
The Melvin, the kid from the first one, does crop up here and there, especially in the TV series. But I don't think there's actually any original people in it. It's kind of fun. I do like if you go and look at the summary in Wikipedia for the whole sort of franchise. I can't remember the exact wording for the third film, but it's just like something. They introduced the ass blasters, which is It's like I just read that and I was just like, "You what?" I'm definitely going to watch this. What are they? What ass blasters? So yeah. That's about it, really.
So I did just want to mention, Adi brought me, I think I'm still on camera, because I've not seen him since before my 50th, so he brought me some presents. Some snacks, some interesting snacks, different flavours, and some Lord Conrad beers, and a Lord Conrad bottle opener, which I will be using during this broadcast. And also, I just wanted to mention, for the good listeners out there, the new Grand Tour episode, as the kids say, dropped today. So,
yeah, it did, didn't it?
Yeah, I'll probably go and watch that once we get finished here.
I'll have to watch that.
Yeah. Okay, we can hit some news then that you good people have sent in. And if you haven't, send us some in for next month. And if you have, send us some more, because there's not enough. SNES emulator developer takes his own life for following online harassment, which is not a great note to start on, sent in by Charlie, and it does what it says on the tin. This is the developer of BSNES, and he also worked on a lot of translation projects as well, translating Japanese ROMs into, I would imagine, English, but maybe other things. And there's a write-up on him and a few nice things that people had to say about him. So hopefully the next story's nicer, but it doesn't look like it because someone's clicked on it and it's about Nintendo suing people. So
and I've got that one queued up. But I've been affected by suicide. I had a close friend, who's a veteran that killed himself, and it's a fucking horrible thing. I don't know how a person ends up in that position, but I think sometimes you just have to dismiss others and have an instinct to tell people to fuck off. It's very freeing of having that stuff mull over in your head when you just quite literally don't give a fuck what somebody thinks. They don't really have a lot of power to harass or bother you, Just, thinking about this, if this guy, what if you said, all right, no fucking emulators for y'all then, if you're going to be cunts about it, and just turns off the fucking page. Go play another fucking emulator then, right? And then goes and does something else this time, I know there are just certain people that are maybe, kind of a little more sensitive that, let things like that get to them, but, if you're a listener to this show and you're in some kind of situation, just tell somebody to fuck off and go on about your life. You owe them nothing. So, got an email here. Mike James sent in. Nintendo denies claims of forced labor and supply chain. Look, ultimately, if you're doing business with China, and this goes down to every one of us that has the made in China item in our house anywhere, of course, which I do too. You're participating in slave labor because it's a brutal communist regime that does have people enslaved, and you are not free there like you were free in other places. Yeah. So of course they are. I mean, if you're wearing Nikes or whatever, the most pious companies amongst us today are certainly some of the most guilty. So Nintendo makes a big kerfuffle of it and says, oh, no, the hell we don't, this, that, and the other. Yeah, but, I mean, you kind of do. So, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, they're sort of, we're denying that, at least that we know of anyone that's being forced into forced labor. But how many years have we been getting, people jumping out the windows at the Foxconn factories and stuff like that.
If you're back to the suicide net, something's not on the up and
up. Yeah. Yeah.
But here's some happy news I had pulled up as well. Arcade 1-Up keeps coming out with more products. Now, I have to admit, My guesstimation on these guys was it was a one and done. It would be one holiday season, and there would be stacks of these things up for sale for pennies on the dollar, and it would be a one year product, right? Well, they're doing pretty good. They're continuing to make machines. They've got the class of 81, which is Miss Pac-Man. I'm sorry, which is Galaga and Miss Pac-Man in one machine. And that's just really cool. Good coloring. You can get it kind of in the Galaga black or the Pac-Man blue. And I imagine it's probably pretty good playing little game. So I could definitely see how this would benefit people, like, having a little home arcade with a lower financial commitment, a lower space commitment. And of course they have finally they're lighting the marquee, which was always going to be a thing. They even have little stools out for it. Now they're starting to sell more accessories, I'd like to see them come out, like they have this Turtles one. It's just amazing. I would like to see them come out with maybe like a pro deck where you can order, say the arcade game, but with a more arcade grade control, panel, more robust overlay, upgraded controls. I think there's maybe a market for that too, but like what they're doing with it. Price points are kind of good. Good luck to them.
So, one here, and we had a similar story last month. It's again from Charlie, and he says perks for ads. And this is something that is going to happen. They are going to do it, and they're going to find a model that they can live with. And this is putting ads in your games. We had a story last month, I think it was, about Facebook putting ads in Oculus games. And then one company stepped up and tried it, and then got such backlash they backed out of it. And this is a platform that helps game companies do it. A new platform launches to bring TV ads to console games. And this is a company called Simul Media. And if you watch all the ad to the end, you are being offered some rewards. What that is, I can't just skipping down it. But they are going to bring ads to games, and you are not going to get away from it. So it's coming. Just be ready for it when it does.
Well, I mean, although it has been coming for quite a while, and it's never quite... I mean, outside of the mobile space, it's never really managed to take hold. They just put a load of in-game ads tried to put them into some Oculus VR games, and there was just a massive backlash, and then I think developer ended up taking them all back out and deciding to pull out of the experiment. So yeah, it's a tricky one. I mean, I remember doing Virtua Tennis 2009, and even just putting real-time updated advertising around the tennis court and stuff, which was supposed to have brought in a load of money for Sega. It never really got off the ground, and it was causing so many problems. Obviously, if you lose connection to the internet, does the fallback system work? But then I think even Sega found that no one was really that interested in actually paying to go onto the service and things. So and
I hope that's the weight that it collapses under.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Roll it out. First of all, and you've seen this, where a web page where you're going to spend money at this company that has a web presence. You're trying to place an order, and their website, their store won't load because Google Analytics won't load at that moment. It's wait, so your demographics collection is more important to you than selling a product? I'll go to your competitor, And the ad experience should never ruin the in-game experience. And I've seen that happen. I mean, I think it could happen again, where they just, the ad server won't load, and then the game's, fucked. I don't want it slowed down. I want zero sign the ads there. First of all, I don't want the ads there. But if you're going to put them in, okay, let's say it's a tennis game, and then all of a sudden, the signs on the court, which don't somehow suddenly become the entirety of the court, but in their normal proportional size, or otherwise might say, Shugo shoes. It might say, New Balance sneakers. Okay, fine. But that better be the extent of it, And even then, I hope it fails miserably. How about you just make good? Yeah, how about instead of building an ad engine, you fucking write, Breath of the Wild 2. Just, do something that people actually want. You'd be amazed what happens when you make products and services people want to buy.
Do you remember that Gimpy Bomber 2 where you'd played 5 seconds, died, and then you got to sit and watch 3 minutes of an unskippable ad?
Unskippable ads.
Yeah.
And I remember that with my ankle burning from the foot actuator. And I mentioned this to 80, what a fucking ad. And 80 looks at me and goes, I've already got your money. So, speaking of grubby, worthless human beings, other than 80, I guess, a scalper has made nearly $2 million reselling consoles and Pokemon cards. Again, just artificially inserting yourself into a supply chain is one of the scummiest things you can do. And, may the money bring you nothing but misery and destruction.
Yeah, I think it's a fairly well-worn topic at this point on the news.
Still out there, people still doing it.
Yeah.
Something else that's out there. This came in from David Guy Rich, and it's a device to play games on. Plug Game Boy cartridges into your PC, and he says he guessed the most useful feature would be a way to back up your old Game Boy saves if you still have them around. And there's cheaper ways than this to do that. I think you could back. I found I think it was I had a memory backup thing that would then you could then dump that back to a flash cart with a USB socket and then convert that, but. This is more like the if you remember the Retrode there used to be, which was a kind of multi-cartridge with sort of interchangeable slots USB device that you could plug into your computer, and it would kind of show up as a USB device and just give you the ROM and the save data. They've kind of made this a bit more plug and play and friendly, so it's got its own sort of software front end. That has its own emulator on there, but then it's also got data utilities to sort of dump saves and write saves back. You can use it to flash some blank rewritable cartridges and things. And then it's got a special photo mode for the Game Boy camera, which was always something that was a bit tricky. That was part of the reason why I got that the save data sort of worked out the tool chain for that, so that I could then run my Game Boy camera save data through a Linux program that would then convert them all into bitmap images. Otherwise, you used to have to fuck about with parallel port interfaces to the Game Boy, and basically make your computer pretend it was a Game Boy printer and sort of essentially build a bitmap line by line as it got the data, which was horrible. But yeah, it's a nice little thing. It's $50 plus shipping. Does Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance cartridges. So, it is limited to just that one console. And maybe a bit debatable how useful running those handheld games exclusively on your PC is. But with the batteries in Game Boy games, being known for failing, especially in the likes of Pokemon and things. Maybe something just for the convenience of backing up and transferring save data around could be quite useful.
Well, one of the features too in there that's pretty cool. And at first I was like, well, why? Who cares? I mean, you would know if you bought a clone, right? Well, it has a clone cartridge detection, because there are companies now churning out old Game Boy games, right? Now, I think that's perfectly fine and good. I don't really care if they declare them as clones. Like, let's say there's, a pretty cool Game Boy cartridge that, is fairly difficult to find or expensive. I don't really care if it's the original. I just want to play the game, right? On original hardware. I'd buy a clone. I don't, whatever. If it's the same software, but just declare that it is up front and charge a real value for it. Like when they did the Action 52 cartridge and all that, they said, yeah, look, it's a replica. Okay, fine, great, I'll buy one. When they did the Nintendo World Championship cartridge, right? They just said straight up front, hey, here's our clone replica of that thing. It's even got the real dip switches. Love it. I'll buy it. Just say that's what it is. So, but I guess if you're a serious collector and you're punching out the slots on the card, yeah, I get it. But interesting device. Got one here. Spooky Pinball is coming out with a Halloween themed pinball. First of all, it's kind of their bag, right up their alley. Makes sense to me. And I'm not a huge fan of the franchise. I just thought it was kind of cheesy. It's like, whatever. This guy runs around and stabs people. I don't know. It was a big thing when I was a kid. It just never really engaged me. But this machine's beautiful. They put some little touches into it, like the shooter is actually the handle like of a butcher knife, right? They did all this either water jet or laser cutting to do like all sorts of like shaped and featured metals on it. And then the play field's just beautiful. The lighting, the colors, the way that it fills out, it looks like a freaking comic book. Like, it looks like a comic book artist like drew this thing. Just absolutely beautiful game. I would definitely walk up and dump money into this at any location I would see it. Even like just the little touches, like the lighting, for various things, like the pumpkin, the gravestone, the way they have that sort of backlit. They just did a bang up job on this. Can't say enough nice things about it. Go look at it. It's very detailed. If you're at all a fan of this franchise or horror franchises, or even like sort of the comic book style of artwork, this might be a game for you.
Yeah, I love the franchise. I think it's, for me anyway, their most interesting game to date, theme-wise. One here from me. And was it last month or the month before we mentioned ROM Universe had been sued by Nintendo and they won a settlement of $2.1 million. And the court reached an agreement where he would pay $50 a month. They are never getting all that money off him. That's $50 a month. But he missed the first payment, and so just from reading this, it would seem that they went for like a permanent injunction against him, so he couldn't run a similar site again or that site again. And because he's missed his first payment, they've gone back to court, and now they're seeking to get that further injunction against him. But he is paying $50 a month for life.
But I love the idea that Nintendo has somebody that, I mean, granted, they're not like standing there in the mail room looking for the check.
Did the check come in yet?
Somebody at Nintendo, because they're not going to let it slip through the cracks. They're just not. Meaning it wasn't just handed off to like, an intern. There's somebody of some importance at Nintendo that is costing them time and money. And, so again, here they are. They've got some, $150K a year, lawyer who works in the department worrying about a $50 check instead of, I don't know, maybe writing a new Mario Brothers game. Did they forget what they're in business for?
Well, I don't think a lawyer would be very good at writing a Mario Brothers game.
Well, okay, but if they didn't have the lawyer, they could spend that. Yeah. Let's say they didn't have a $150K lawyer sitting there waiting for his check. They could spend that on like 2 game developers that could be hammering away at shit. It's stupid is what it is. Speaking of people that do stupid things with gaming licenses, Atari moves away from free-to-play and mobile games to focus on premium PC and console games. Well, I guess now that their extensive afternoon of dev work making the software ecosystem for the VCS is done. I've argued about this on Atari Age. I don't think most people are truly getting the context of my argument. If you look at like what Atari VCS could have and should have been, was a thoroughly developed software ecosystem where it was like, it sort of answered the alternate history, question of what if Atari had never gone away? What if Atari had stayed in the marketplace like Nintendo? What would Atari have looked like today? You roll out that, you're going to have people lined up to buy that sucker, man. You get rid of the Call of Duty kids. You create something for, a different demographic that doesn't want that crap. And you could just have a home run. What they did what they released, what they shipped that console with, was just some minor configuration stuff. I mean, that honestly could have been like, come in the morning, discuss it. It's no more complex than, creating a RetroPie build. You get 2 or 3 guys sort of dividing up some tasks, and they could have done that software build out in an afternoon. It's embarrassing. It's just, to me, it's just an obvious last minute thrown together, minimal effort. They didn't have professionals in there. They didn't have software developers. Nobody was working on that had any skill set. It was just a quick slapdash thrown together user level bit of software configuration. I can't even use the word development. So apparently they're doing other things, but, who cares?
Well, speaking of Atari hardware, Charlie sent us some potential spam, which was just a link to a YouTube video, where someone is at the Free Play Bar Arcade in Providence, and the guy they're talking to, I haven't watched it all properly, I've just sort of skimmed it, but he's showing him an Atari Vector FPGA replacement board, and there's a link to it I've gone into, and it is what it says on the tin. It's an FPGA replacement that you can replace Tempest, Major Havoc, Omega Race, Upright, Cabaret, and Cocktail Tempest cabinets are supported with screen flipping for the Cocktail version, which sounds like it could be pretty cool. I don't know what the failure rate is for sort of the motherboards versus the actual Vector monitors and the repairability, especially as the board's $699. But I guess you can kind of turn a single Vector cab into a bit of a multi-game cab with it. Assuming that it's just going to load the ROM sets onto the FPGA off a flash memory or something. So if that's something that interests you, someone has made something with an FPGA that's fairly decent.
A consumer product almost.
Yeah.
So this is one that rumbled on for a little while. Museum of Pinball faces closure, and this was the Museum of Pinball in Banning, California, spread over an 18-acre site just west of Palm Springs, and this has developed more recently. I think there was a funding attempt, and then they realized they weren't going to be able to stay where they were, and then they were looking for places to store their huge collection, and that is what they're having to do. They're having to break up the collection, put it in storage, and see what develops. Whether they find another home or not, I don't think has been made clear yet, but since I sent this article in, they have actually confirmed they are closing. The one here, another one from me. Video game collector believes he's found evidence of an unreleased SNK Millennium console. I did read through this. There is a video that accompanies it and some pictures. And it's basically, he's got the motherboard out of an SNK console. But it's slightly different to the others and seems to be slightly upgraded in some areas. I don't think... if it's this story, it may be another later, but I think it's this one. I don't think there was a BIOS on it, so he couldn't actually boot it, but he's just going based off the chips and the layout of the board that this was perhaps a new console that they were working on, but never made it to market. So, worth watching the video and having a read through that page.
So, wow. There's some craziness here. This story came in a couple of times. Gareth Hamer sent it in. Reader, I don't know who submitted that. I can't see it right now.
Me.
But all right, so a copy of Legend of Zelda, and this is always what kind of makes me like whenever I read these things. I was like, wait, was it just any copy? Because let's say like, well, I mean, obviously it's gonna be like a seal boxed highlight, whatever. Okay, but how many copies of those? Because I give you a good example. Okay, my wife, had Alf when she was growing up, right? Like the TV show. But like here, in the U.S., we got every episode every week. In Italy, they just translate like 1 or 2 episodes and throw it on a channel, so you never really saw the whole thing. So she just decided she was going to watch the whole Alf end to end, right? Which I think I'm about to too, because the TV shows then were just so much better and so much purer to their purpose of entertaining. So she wanted this Alf, the Coleco Alf from like 1986. So I found one that was like new, unopened, all that, and got it for her. But every time I see these stories, it's kind of like, I was telling her how like let's say two grandparents bought the same toy for a kid, right? So they, run out and grab something else, whatever, stick it in the closet. Oh, I'll return that next week. And next week becomes 25 years later. Oh, shit, that thing's been sitting there for 25 years. It happens, right? So I can certainly see how, like, somebody got a Nintendo for Christmas. They got 2 or 3 games, and they know they bought a copy of Zelda. They just can't find it. Like, the parents hid the fucking present, and then 25 years later, they're unboxing, some old Christmas ornaments. It's like, oh, there's that Legend of Zelda. It happens, right? So is any willy-nilly copy of Zelda worth $1.5 million, Well, sometimes it comes down to, all right, well, this is the 1986 test release. This was, a pre-production one that was test. I don't know, So it does come down to, it was just in the right category of these things. That had a trademark instead of a, copyright, whatever. So it would be a rarity that it got out. So, just because you've got that unopened, copy of, Alleyway for the, Game Boy doesn't mean you're buying a new house. So, but cool story though.
Well, yes. So shortly after the Zelda that was 870 was then the Mario 64, which was 1.56, which Carl Klitsky sent in an AV Club one where, just because of basically the headline, which was someone spent $1.56 million on a copy of Super Mario 64 instead of downloading it. And that's almost weird though, that like the whole way this has been ramping up, and it's kind of, you wonder if someone's maybe sat on a box, not a huge box, but a box found.
There's
would have
been
been
some bombs drop like that. It was one of those air raid, air assault, whatever Atari things, where a guy who literally had a box of them was, the legend goes, he was trying to fuck up the market, or I guess as he says that he was sick and tired of the endless bickering, whatever. He whips out a box of these things. He goes, look, there's like a bunch. Just shut up. It was freaking great.
Yeah. So,
Nintendo in the news again. Except this time they just happened to be tangentially involved. They weren't doing anything, I guess. A Breath of the Wild save file modder was arrested by the Japanese police. Now, I'll give it this. Maybe Japan actually has enough free time with a relative, low crime rate that they could actually bother with this. Still, it doesn't, even at what crime, right? So the crime that they say he did was he was charging $31 to modify your save states to give you better in-game abilities, right? Okay, fine. I don't care. I don't think that's a matter for law enforcement, right? But they have done this before, and they say that it violates the unfair competition prevention law. No, I don't know, man. I heard something on the radio that was kind of funny the other day. Equal men are not free, and free men are not equal. It gives you something to kind of chew on. It's kind of an interesting thought. But that said, if somebody is unequal in a video game, who cares? I don't care. Like if some other guy got to defeat the giant camel with 3 strikes to gain instead of 13, I just don't care. It doesn't impact my day. So I don't know if this is really haconstructive use of law enforcement, but
no. So one here from Gareth Hamer, who's in live chat, so we can hear back his own story. Proud Raspberry Pi owner claims to have played 5 minutes of every single video game. And he put in his message, a bullshit sandwich, methinks. And this story, I love the way it starts off. Proud Raspberry Pi owner has played 5 minutes of every video game. I mean, how proud do you have to be to own like a $20 computer?
I think you'll find this sorry, this article's a bit satire.
It is a bit, because it says just further down here, I'm not sure if you can call yourself a gamer if you haven't played every single game. What? Like, there is no way everyone can watch every single movie, but you're still a movie watcher. What the fuck is
okay,
that?
I'm doing a little math here, okay? I'm just going by, when my RetroPie boots up that I have here in the studio, it's sort of my general purpose. If I want to play any game ever, I go to it, right? So I've deleted a lot of the sports games and Mahjong and, stuff, but it's a pretty robust load, 130 gigabytes. So it's 8,500 games. So 5 minutes times 8,500 equals 42,500 minutes of gameplay. Divided by 60 minutes equals 708 hours, okay?
I think you missed a zero there.
It says 708.
I think you've missed the point.
Yeah.
Of it. It's just a play on that old thing of how if you have
I didn't
5
miss a
games.
zero. Now you fucked up the math. Hold on. 5 minutes.
If you have 5 games, you'll play them properly. If you have download every ROM, you end up never actually playing any of them for more than 2 minutes.
Okay,
Yeah.
So it is 708 hours divided by, man, yeah, that's a couple years worth of time, even just to 5 minutes. But of course, it's bullshit. But it's not even practical bullshit.
No, no.
A favorite professor of mine had the best line ever. An honest man never lies. A pragmatic man never lies about something that's easily verified.
Mm-hmm. And we just verified it.
We're the first time that we ever use an FPGA in a consumer product. I have one in my hand here. That doesn't count.
Well, moving forward, I think this was also Gareth Hamer. Reasons to dig out your old dodgy Joy-Cons, of which there are apparently a lot out there. Someone thinks they have a fix for it, which involves taking it apart slightly, and I think putting a piece of paper in to act as padding. It seems to be a bit of wear and tear inside that allows them to drift, and he claims this has fixed it. Obviously, you will null and void your warranty. And I was reading about this, so this is just a news article, but I did kind of click through and have a read up on it. And I ended up on a forum where, the members were discussing whether they're going to do it or not. And someone says, well, I'm not going to void my warranty. I just bought another set of Joy-Cons, so when I send one off, I've still got one to use. And I'm thinking, is that an acceptable solution to you? If one keeps breaking, you buy 2 of them, so you've got one to use while your other one's away.
Pair at work. Throw them in the bin.
Oh, it's just mental.
Next up, Peter Gibbs. Nintendo sues paper mill.
Yeah.
So, no, Peter did say in an article, though, and it's Chip's Challenge on SNES and Mega Drive. This is one of my favorites on the links. It was due to more exposure. Sorry.
That's you.
If you can't do it subtly, just let it fly. I have never had enough batteries to finish it. So, yeah, Chips Challenge. Let's see here. Many gamers focus on the latest and shiny games from Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft. There is a market for new releases on retro systems, too. Of course there is. This time around, it's Chips Challenge, which has been ported to the 16-bit systems produced and sold by the Retro Room. Like a number of projects of this type, it's reviving an old game for additional retro hardware and producing physical editions that will work in your actual SNES or Genesis like the old days. Yes, I love that. Obviously, we love the idea of new games for classic systems, and hopefully there'll be just more and more of those. It's going to be interesting to see where this goes, right? Like 20 years from now, when the SNES, is, turning, a guy, 50 or whatever, who's going to be making games for it? What will those games be like? What tricks will they come up with? What new programming language will allow more feature? Who knows? I mean, we're going to see some interesting stuff, I think.
Well, speaking of interesting stuff, you can subscribe to Old School Gamer Magazine for free. Yeah, that's it. I say it every month. It's free. You get the first 24 pages of every issue totally free. Just go to oldschoolgamer.com/RGR and sign up. Or even better, for only $10 a year, you can get access to the full issue plus all the back issues digitally. Sign up at oldschoolgamer.com/RGR. For those in North America, you can get the printed magazine for as little as $30 a year. International subscribers pay a bit more for shipping, but if you're interested, that URL again is oldschoolgamer.com/RGR.
So, Mike, just to disprove the notion that this could be a scripted commercial element and not spontaneous factual thing, what am I about to talk about, Mike?
You're about to talk about Power Slave.
No, you have no idea because this wasn't scripted. So last night I got back from a trip. I had all sorts of stuff going on. I sit down and I come in the studio, and on my way through the garage, I had the issue number 22 of Old School was sitting on top of some cases of oil for stuff, and I was, I have yet to look at that. I'm gonna get that done, right? So I grabbed the copy of Old School Gamer magazine. I come down to the studio, I put my Diet Pepsi down and put my feet up, and I start reading, right? And guess what? There's some cool stuff in this one, man. Got down to an article by otherwise numbnuts Michael Thomason. Well, look, the guy got scammed by SoCal and defended SoCal scamming. What do you want me to say? He's a fucking idiot. What do you want? Anyway, point being, he's a good author, though. I've never said he isn't. I won't say he isn't. He is a damn good author. So anyway, he did a breakdown on, Outrun, a little blurb on Yu Suzuki himself. I am, a big fan of Yu Suzuki's games. So great little piece there. Greatly enjoyed it. I wish he was as good at detecting scammers as he was writing articles. And then there is a great piece here by Michael Murtis on Pit Stop 2. Just a good deep dive. And then Brett Weiss, longtime publisher, cornerstone of the publishing industry and for retro gaming, comes along and does a great piece on just old school racing games, right? And then flipping ahead, there was another piece on Sega Turbo, which I've got a Sega Turbo, and here's a great article on it, right? But the one that really kind of got me, that kind of went back and reread twice, was Patrick Hickey did one on Lee Actor hard driving. Now, hard driving, I remember the first time I ever saw it, it was slow, it was laggy, but it was like, wow, that's like some crazy futuristic stuff. And he does a good breakdown of that, and then followed right by Cruisin' USA. Ken Horowitz wrote that one. Anyway, it's like just substance. There's a couple ads, sure, but a lot of it's just page after page of substance. The thing, 65 pages long. It was just a great read. So I literally read the magazine cover to cover last night and had no association. Oh yeah, we're doing news tomorrow. I should mention this. So, it really is a good mag. I give them mad props for it.
Exactly. So, Power Slave is back, according to David Gyrick. And he says, I know you guys are fans of the classic game, so maybe you will be interested in knowing it will be released on Steam. I had the Saturn version of the game and really liked it, and tried the PC version out later and was surprised to find it was more or less a completely different game. I suppose a re-release of the console version would be more difficult. It was a difficult game, full of secrets, and I think I've mentioned before, I think there are 100 hidden secrets in there, and I thought I'd done pretty well, but when I got to the end, I'd found one of them. But I'm just looking on Steam now, and it's got 15% off. I don't know how long this promotion's on for. Oh, offer ends 3rd of August, so you may just scrape in if you get the podcast early. It's only £6.11. The full price is £7.19.
Even at full price, that's probably cheap enough to be worth just buying that rather than digging back my Saturn out again, which I keep thinking I want to do, and Power Slave's one of those reasons, or Exhumed as I would be playing.
Exhumed, yeah.
Exhumed, but I just can't be bothered to dig it out and plug it in and fanny about with it because it's temperamental at the best of times, my Saturn nowadays.
And also, I've never played the DOS version. I've played the Saturn and the PS1 version, but never played the DOS version, so it might be interesting to try that.
And speaking of PC versions of things, Nintendo sues pile of discs. So, submitted by Dave Lanke. Great little piece of information here. ID Software's Mario PC port was found in a stack of discs submitted to the Strong Museum of Play. So, yeah, they, Commander Keen was originally intended to be an engine for the PC port of Mario 3. Nintendo didn't do it, but it was a big deal for, PC, game development to get, smooth scrolling side play. And that's one of the things, I always wondered, when I was younger, like, hey, why the heck isn't there a PC port, of Mario? Why isn't there Mario on the Commodore 64 if the hardware is comparable, And sure enough, it ended up in with a whole bunch of discs from an unknown, developer source that the guy didn't write it. He got it from a friend during the course of his work, whatever. I'm sure Nintendo's apoplectic that this, software got out there, but pretty cool.
Speaking of discs, Gareth Hamer again, and also Spinal sent this one in. Spinal said of it, this nut job has written an old school demo for none other than a Commodore 1541 floppy drive. No C64 needed other than to load the code. The serial cable with a slight modification outputs the video directly, and you've got to watch this video. So he shows you his monitor there and his 1541. He breaks apart the cables, puts what looks like a diode in there, connects things up, and he's got a video display on the monitor. It's pretty crazy, and why he thought that would work and he should do it, I don't know.
Actually, so it kind of makes sense. That's a serial bus. So if you modulate the data, if you write the disk, to produce a data stream that is that waveform, you would, it kind of, you could do audio. Mm-hmm. It makes sense. I guess sometimes just to prove a point in hardware. I've certainly done shit where just to prove a point in hardware, you do some silly shit like that. So I get it.
I think we've all done silly shit.
Oh, yeah. From David Gyrich, he says here, Netflix is adding games next year. I don't care. David, I'm not directed to you. Thank you for submitting the news article. But yeah, I just don't care. May it be Google Stadia all over again. Keep rolling them out. Keep spending your time and money, and let them keep bombing. I don't care. I'm not going to buy one. I'm not going to engage in one. My games, to me, are a physical commodity, an entity I purchase. And when you deviate from that into the whole new model of you'll own nothing, just rent everything or temporary access, I'm not participating. So that's how I would hope the majority of people would see it, and we can force them to bend to our will and actually produce quality games on a physical medium that we own. So that's how I see it.
Well, the details on this one, it's an interesting thing because the details are pretty scant at the moment. So what few details there are is they're probably going to do mobile games at first based around themes of Netflix shows. So you'll get a Stranger Things mobile game, of which there already is one, but things along that kind of path. And then depending how that goes, then they may start to make other titles for other platforms. Now, whether that is a Stadia type controller or whether that's, a physical console, I can't see them doing that, but you never know. I think it's interesting, and I don't think they'll drop the ball as quickly or as seriously as Google did with the Stadia. But I think, this is the way that it's going, and us old farts will be in the minority if we're not already, unfortunately.
Possibly. It's a bit of a shame, I think, that they didn't try and explore the technology that they used for the Black Mirror interactive episode and, leverage the fact that they have kind of a unique platform in some ways to, do something like that to, essentially make like what you'd get as DVD player games, but then make them, a bit more, there'd be endlessly more power in a smart TV these days than there was in a DVD player.
Yeah, I've got a DVD, some of the digital leisure stuff, and I've got a Tomb Raider DVD game as well. It's just not usable with, the bit of lag you've got in the remote control, plus the seek time on the disc. They're unusable. But like you say, the Bandersnatch stuff was done pretty well.
Yeah, and you'd think, if you were doing, say, a Dragon's Lair, they probably could work out a way to have, a setup where you've got an app or even a special mode in, the mobile app version of Netflix that's on your account that gives you a control interface, and then the TV, which is also, using your Netflix profile, that's then playing the video that it needs to play. And then they can, they should be able to do something like that, and give a bit more control to it than maybe the Bandersnatch idea. But even, I'm a big fan of sort of badly sort of low budget FMV games anyway. So, and a lot of those are very sort of the Bandersnatch style, where it pauses for. And it's got a 10-second sort of countdown bar, and you've got to make a decision, a dialogue choice or a decision on which room you're going to go into, which gives it time to buffer what it needs to do and things like that. And they're on the PC doing that, but there's no reason that the Bandersnatch stuff couldn't also give you that same experience. So it'd be kind of fun for them to just give a bunch of people like small budgets and go, here, make into FMV games. Just go crazy. Think of whatever you want, and here's some money to do it. But I don't know. They're not going to make any money that way, are they? Is how they're unfortunately going to look at it, and they're not going to. We know that even on popular TV series, they bring out, by the third season, they just can it because that's the point where it stops bringing in new subscriptions. And certainly none of this would it? So
no, unless they charge extra for it. But
and you make a good point there. We had this discussion at work, a couple of us years ago, where it's like you get to the third season, the show's getting pretty good. You can tell the budget's been slaughtered because they're not doing complex shoots anymore. They're not doing this. And, my point was, don't they have any pride in their work? It was a good show. Keep it going, right? And, this guy, Chris, made a good point. He goes, what if they aren't interested in making a good show? What if they're interested in hooking people for the period of time that historically shows subscription rates rise and then keeping you on as long as possible before you go to the next thing? I was like, that sucks.
That's exactly what it is, yeah.
Yeah. But
sometimes people say it in a way that makes sense,
Yeah, but you think like a show even as big as Breaking Bad was, they did the Fly episode, and that was purely for budget reasons, There were the two characters, Jesse and Walter, in the lab chasing a fly, and that was it, because they'd run out of money for that, that episode, and that was a huge show, so, it does happen.
Well, here's something I'm not sure if I care about. I think I just don't, but so the Steam Deck is a thing, and they're saying, can it really handle AAA gaming? So what they do here is a deep dive. It's not retro, so I'm not going to go too deep into it, but you guys can read up on it. They sort of break down the specs and say, can it really handle, big modern titles, right? Well, it's another, box that lets you access some stuff that you don't really have until they decide you're not going to have it. So, it's not for me. I've got, a couple of handheld things kind of like this that are, I can play the games I care about and play them all off of an SD. So it's not for me, but it's kind of an interesting read if you're, trying to figure out if it's for you.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting device. Whether, I wouldn't pay the price they're asking to use it for Steam games, but, we are, all of us, always looking for the best handheld to do what we want to do. And it may be that this is it, can you get into the OS? Can you, put Linux and RetroPie on it? Can you, if you wanted to, put Windows on it and run your emulators that way? Is it locked into running Steam and, only games you purchase digitally?
Well, they're claiming it's not, and it's completely open, because it's going to be running Steam OS version 3, which changes the back end from it was Debian based, I think, or Ubuntu. They're changing it over to an Arch Linux base. So I imagine it's going to be very easy to get into it and do things with it, without just completely going hog wild and just reflashing it. But they claim that, if you want, you can just install, format the disk, install Windows on it, install other Linux on it, do what you want. So, I mean, even if you just had Steam, it could be interesting from a retro point of view that, there's quite a lot of old PC games on there due to the nature of the PC platform, not really changing. But it changes, but it still maintains a lot of compatibility. And a lot of them, some do bundle up in a DOS box wrapper or something. So it would be quite a good way if you were just doing Steam. You've got a big retro PC library on there. But then with the sort of the flexibility, you should in theory be able to run, GOG on there and access a load more. I would imagine it should be, it's not going to do Dolphin super well, but with a couple of sacrifices, it probably would do Dolphin fairly well. So you could be playing GameCube stuff on it. PS2 might be a bit of a stretch because it's got sort of a fairly reasonable, the raw sort of specs of the CPU, and the architecture's good, but it's the sort of the power budget that it's restricted to that's probably going to hold it back. But I suppose single-threaded, most emulators, that's where it's all going to count. So yeah, maybe you could do. So you're going to get probably going to get Dreamcast, PS2, GameCube on there. Don't fancy your chances of PS3 at the moment, but
no.
But certainly everything older than that.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to watch, and the level of the hacking that happens once it's out and the price drop. Then it will reach a point where I'm suddenly interested. I'm still holding out for the. It would be
nice if they would just ship the damn thing with, and more or less, even if it's just a wink and a nod, go. It's not that difficult to get into. Knock yourself out, you crazy kids. Yeah. I mean, if the point is to ship more units, right? So, got a PSA here from Sparklepuss, and he says he's been seeing a lot of fire damage collections on Facebook. Get insurance if you have a crazy collection. Check to see what your insurance covers. So I actually, let me tag on that. Yeah. I went with, my insurance for my house. And, I've done this before with cars. Like if you have cars that have, a exceptional or difficult to define value, I got two, one exotic and then one vintage Subaru. And, to make things better for everybody, you just contact the insurance company. They come out, they take pictures, they document the condition, and it really does kind of protect you and protect them, because you're not coming to them going, "Hey, I want, $30,000 for a vehicle that has a $300 list price." It's known that that's what the vehicle is, and sometimes there's a little nominal upcharge for the extra insurance or the extra value. So I've had a good experience with it. I did talk to my insurance company, and all they did is they sent a guy to the house, just one of their adjusters, came by, he sort of oohed and awed over the games and, asked me how he could, find like this awesome, pinball he remembered from being a kid and what they cost, and he took some pictures. We had a great chat. And now, like, God forbid anything happens, my collection is more protected. So yeah, why not, right? But the one that I had pulled up that was just after it that I really wanted to hit is from Per Holmstrom. And it's kind of funny because we were just talking about something similar to this. As these game systems hit, 30, 40, 50 years old, what else is going to be possible? So he says, "Hi, it seems this cartridge halts the Vectrex processor." I'm like, "Well, hold on. The Pytrex, what's that?" Hey, so there's a guy that came out with a board called the Pytrex. And what it does, it basically uses the Vectrex as a input-output device, right? But it runs Vectrex emulation, and who knows what could be done with that? I mean, what new games can be created when you have endless gigabytes of possibilities? We can do pre-processing maybe of some things. So, I look forward to seeing some of these, really cool gadgets that are going to come out of this. So,
and the Vectrex is a great homebrew community with just so much going on, from the bog standard out of the box Vectrex. It's crazy what people are doing with them, and it's also crazy what people are doing with this. From David Gyrick again. "I'm not sure where the crossover is between luxury watches and Mario fans, but I'm sure it'll sell out regardless." And this is a Tag Heuer Mario-themed smartwatch. Now, I get the watch thing. I don't own any posh watches. I've not worn a watch for years. I did buy, a cheap Android one just to see what smartwatches were about, probably a couple of years ago. It's been in a drawer and may not even charge anymore. I don't know. Just don't wear watches anymore. But I get the whole, nice watch kind of thing. So if you're going to spend a lot of money on a Tag Heuer watch, are you going to buy, something classic? Are you going to buy something exclusive? Or are you going to buy one with Super Mario on it? I agree with him.
I want to wear a really fancy watch to impress the ladies down at the bar.
It's a me, Mario. I'm not sure where the crossover is either, but
I don't either. And I have destroyed cheap watches. I've destroyed expensive watches. I am just death and destruction for watches. There's nothing good about it.
I said I didn't own a classic watch. I do own a classic watch. I don't know how classic, but it was one by Tissot. They did it in the 80s, and it was a rock watch made from the Swiss Alps. I've still got one of those.
A rock watch.
Yeah.
I just the last watch I bought was one of the Apple watches before they took the deep dive into digital fuckery and tyranny. But I kind of liked what it did, but when it predictably cracked the screen glass, instead of it being a $5 part or a $10 part, or something that was available, whatever, it's unavailable, and Apple offered to recycle the watch for me. I'm like, no. So, yeah, watches aren't for me. So, got one here. The Descendants of Erdrick are back at it and kicking it. They're playing down there in Austin. So if you're in the area, get out, go see some live music, and enjoy. They put on a good show, man. I've seen them many times, so go check it out.
In other music news, David Gyrick and Chris both emailed us to let us know that the 2020 Olympics, well, which is obviously running in 2021, opened with some Dragon Quest and some Final Fantasy music. We didn't get anything about the sort of the stories going around about Nintendo, because I think they were in. Did they have Mario in the sort of the celebration? We've won the.
I read that they were supposed to be part of the opening ceremony, but then backed out. Yeah,
were they in the closing ceremony last time? In the because they do the transition thing over to the next country, don't they?
I don't remember.
Was that where Boris Johnson's Whiff Waff came from? Was that in a closing ceremony of the previous before London?
The whole Whiff Waff thing. Whiff Waff is what posh
wake me up when the
schoolboys.
Olympics talk is over.
Yeah, what Whiff Waff is what posh schoolboys call table tennis. So the term wouldn't have come from there. It's an old term.
No, I don't mean that. I mean because he was up like in public talking about Whiff Waff. I think that was the closing ceremony.
A tool.
Yeah, big time. When it was sort of transitioning over to London, and because he was mayor of London at the time. But anyway, yeah. So Nintendo declined, and Square Enix presumably then filled the gap.
So
made some money.
Yeah, one here from me. Domino world record. And this is a YouTube video. It's on a channel by a guy called Mark Rober. I believe he used to work at NASA, for NASA, a contractor or whatever. But he has a channel, and it's kind of a maker channel, and a lot of our listeners are into that kind of scene as well. And he builds a lot of robots.
Hey, is that the guy that did the glitter package bomb?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I know exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So he does some great videos, weird science experiments, but also he does a lot of maker stuff. And this one he wanted to do like a domino world record, but not have to set each one up, one at a time kind of thing. So he built a robot that dropped, I forget how many it is now. It's a lot of dominoes all at the same time, and it's got like a GPS thing, so it knows where it's been, where the next drop is. And it is, if you watch the video, it is video game related. The pattern of the dominoes he lays out, he uses different colors and makes a video game pattern. But if you've never checked out his channel, definitely worth a watch. Some very good, amusing videos on there.
So it's really, really, really awesome here. And Gareth Hamer sent this in. I heard nothing about this. And now I'm like, what? Free Doom DLC. So the original Doom and Doom 2 have received new updates. And Bethesda released Earthless Prelude, coming free to versions of Doom on current platforms such as the PlayStation 4, presumably the PlayStation 5, PC, Nintendo Switch. And they got together with Jimmy Paddock, who's a fairly well-known modder. And I guess now 32 new levels dropped. So I am just loving that. I haven't read the rest of when and where and how and what to grab it. Hopefully it's not one of those. It's available between 6 and 6:15 a.m. Hopefully, because I'm stoked. I love the idea of this. Hopefully it's exactly what it reads that it is.
So I've got a couple here from me, which have got flagged as potential spam, and which are showing the Google's algorithm how it's building up its profile of me. Because the first one was a Bristol shop that had gone empty, that someone's transforming into a retro gaming arcade, which is being done by a group called Replay, not to be confused with the Replay retro events. It's a different Replay that just seemed to, I had a look, and they seem to organise board game events and things like that. But yeah, so they're opening a shop in Bristol. as a little retro gaming spot. And then it fed me the next day another news story from Bristol, which is that a man running a food trailer is going to leave his dogging hotspot because they're taking down the CCTV on there. Now, I kind of see what his point is. There was CCTV. It kept the dogging down to a minimum so he could, get business during the day.
I think he's looking at this all wrong. It just promotes kind of dog.
He just needs to switch his target market. They're going to be working up a hunger, these doggers. And they get some numbers on it, and it was, where were the numbers? It was ridiculous. It's like 150 people a day or something. They were saying at its peak. This is the dogging, not his sandwich fan. So dude, just work overnight, sleep all day, stay open all night, keep them fed.
Accept the clientele you have.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Google thinks I'm interested in retro gaming stuff. Maybe Bristol for some reason, and dogging, obviously.
So, one here from me. There's an official Mega Drive and Master System themed Picross on the way, and it's coming to Switch. Looks interesting. I do love Picross. I've been playing the SNES series of Picross games, Japanese only. There's 8 in the series. I've done the first 7, so I was playing number 8 just last night, so I'm working my way through that. But I don't own a Switch, so I won't be playing this one anytime soon. But if you do like Picross, and it is quite addictive, there's a Mega Drive and Master System themed one on its way.
So yeah, another spam that I'd sent that in when I'd sent that in, and Charlie has sent us another kid that's been making loads of money during the pandemic selling. I think did it say it's saying he said they were selling games consoles. I can't see anything specifically around games consoles, but he's been selling swimming pools and things as well on Amazon, which probably to Twitch streamers, because that suddenly blew up very quickly.
He must be one of those guys they have on YouTube when you click on a video to watch it and it says, I made $1 million selling things on Amazon. You can too. And then you click off it and you never know what they get up to.
Yeah.
Still a mystery.
Yeah.
I think these days it's mostly only Chinese people that are making loads of money selling things on Amazon, from what I can tell. Or people, I suppose, importing stuff from China and selling it.
Yeah. So, there was something, you reminded me of something I was going to mention, and now I've completely forgotten. But we are out of news items.
Was it dogging?
Dogging or Picross, one of the two.
Dogging or pick. It was off one of the last news items. No, can't remember. Bristol shop, food trailer, dogging. No, it's gone. Can't remember. Can't be that important. But what is important is a couple of things. The people who've watched us in live news, if you didn't, then join us next month. We do announce it. And you can join us next month. Send in your news items. Anything you see that you think might be interesting to bring to the listeners, send it to news@retrogamingroundup.com. And we would appreciate it very much. Anything else before we disappear?
Nope. Let's make like a tree and branch out of here.
Hey. All right, then.
Hey, guys, look, I've got to drop like right now.
Okay.
I'm already pinged for this conference call. They're bumping it up early because we got some authorization. Mike, hardware flashback, I've got it laid out. When I get done with this tonight, I will sit down, record it, and get it up on the server for you, dude.
All right. Awesome. So we will say goodbye. So thank you, everyone, for watching. And I will stop the stream. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.